It was still early when the bags were packed and loaded into the back of the SUV. The larger suitcase, Sarah's, went in first, followed by three smaller ones, neatly stacked so nothing would slide around on the long drive. The tank was full, the windshield cleaned, and the inside of the car had been wiped down the night before. Even the cup holders had been cleared of crumbs and filled with fresh gum, tissues, and a few snacks. 5 hours on the road wasn't short, but the least he could do was make the ride comfortable for them. Sarah didn't say thank you. She just slid into the back seat with her friends, laughing as they adjusted the air vents and settled in with coffee cups and sunglasses. No one asked how his morning had been or offered him anything from the coffee tray they'd picked up on the way out. It wasn't new. When Sarah was with her friends, he was always part of the background, like the steering wheel or the seatbelt, useful, expected, and ignored. The first hour passed with their voices bubbling up now and then, conversations about spa packages, exfoliation routines, and someone named Monica's failed engagement. He kept his eyes on the road, turning down the heat when asked, changing the playlist when told, taking the exits they preferred even if it meant adding a few minutes to the route. He didn't mind, he'd done this before, these weekends were their thing. He just drove the car and stayed quiet. That was the unspoken rule. Every now and then he caught pieces of the conversation. Ruth was planning a juice cleanse. Laura had a new guy who wasn't emotionally stunted for once. Haley had recently unfollowed someone for sharing trauma too loudly. They all laughed. Sarah laughed too, but it didn't sound like her usual laugh. It was sharper, thinner, like she was performing. At a red light, he glanced in the rearview mirror. Sarah was flipping through her phone, smiling as she read something out loud. Her friends leaned in. They laughed again. Then came the shift. It was quick, just one sentence that didn't quite land like the others. "He's like a trained dog," Sarah said. "Feed him and he'll roll over. So easy." No one replied for half a second. Then all three burst into laughter, real laughter, big, unfiltered, belly-deep laughter. His hands stayed on the wheel. His eyes stayed on the road. But something in the air changed. Not from the outside. It was still bright, still cold, still morning. But inside, something tight pulled in his chest. And for the first time in years, the silence that followed her laughter didn't feel calm. It felt personal. He didn't say anything, just kept driving. The road stretched ahead, long and quiet, but the noise from the back seat lingered even after they went quiet. It had landed, and it wasn't going anywhere. The road wound through low hills, bare trees, flicking past the windows like shadows. Laughter filled the back seat again, sharp, overlapping, easy. Someone told a story about a co-worker crying in the break room, and the others piled on with jokes. Another round of giggles. Haley said something about men who need gold stars just for doing dishes. Then Laura chimed in, loud enough to echo inside the cabin. "Mine thinks he deserves a parade when he wipes the counter." More laughter, a pause. Then Sarah spoke. "He's like a trained dog," she said. "Feed him and he'll roll over, so easy." No one corrected her. No one asked if she meant it. No one even hesitated. They all burst into a different kind of laughter. Not polite, not awkward, not unsure. It was real, full-bodied, mean. The kind of laugh people save for private jokes. The kind that comes from a place of shared understanding. Haley snorted. Laura nearly choked on her drink. Ruth tapped the seat twice like she was clapping. The moment dragged for a second too long. The laughter died down slowly, but something stayed behind. Not the joke, not the volume, the weight. It hung in the air like perfume, impossible to ignore. Not a punchline, a statement, a truth revealed by accident. Nobody noticed the silence that followed, not really. Laura went back to scrolling on her phone. Ruth started talking about spa upgrades. Sarah asked if they'd passed the turnoff yet. All of it casual, like nothing had happened. But something had. The world outside stayed the same. Fields, fences, fading towns. But inside, something cracked. Not loudly. No pop or snap. Just a quiet shift. Like a string pulled too tight for too long, finally giving way. Not broken, just done. There was no voice raised in protest, no sarcastic comeback, no reaction at all. Just a slow, sinking understanding, like water soaking through fabric. A realization that maybe the love once believed to be mutual had quietly changed shape. that maybe it had never been mutual at all. Every mile after that felt different. The road didn't stretch, it shrank. The cabin of the SUV didn't feel warm and full. It felt tight, like a box closing in. The voices from the back continued, bouncing between topics: exfoliation, wine pairings, someone's dog that chews furniture. But that sentence stayed louder than all of it. Feed him and he'll roll over. The spa came into view like a postcard: stone path, glass doors, palm trees in pots. The car rolled to a stop. They gathered their things, still chatting, still smiling. Doors slammed shut. Sarah adjusted her sunglasses and tossed one last sentence over her shoulder before walking away. "Don't forget to wash the sheets. They stink like you." Then the doors shut behind her and the building swallowed them whole. And just like that, quiet again. But not the kind of quiet that felt restful, the kind that stayed. The road back stretched long and quiet, the kind of quiet that didn't comfort. It echoed. No music played. The air vents hummed, but even they felt too loud. A hand stayed on the wheel, steady, while thoughts ran wild. That sentence played on repeat, over and over, louder than anything else. Feed him and he'll roll over. The words weren't sharp like a knife. They were dull, flat, familiar. Familiar because they didn't sound new. They sounded like the final puzzle piece, like something that had always been there, just never said out loud, not until now. Then came the other memories, not asked for, but arriving anyway. The times a joke landed at someone's dinner table and it was at his expense. The way her eyes rolled during a conversation with friends if he spoke too long. The quiet correction in public, the hand on the knee, the sharp whisper, "You're talking too much." All the little moments he laughed off, called it teasing, told himself not to be sensitive. All of it stacked up now like bricks in a wall he'd never noticed was being built around him. Every chore he did, every errand he ran, every quiet sacrifice he made, was it ever appreciated? Or just expected? Was the love he thought he was giving ever received? Or was it just convenient, like a service running in the background of her life, the kind you forget about until it stops working? The car rolled on, mile after mile, nothing on the radio, no calls made. The phone sat face down, untouched, not even the urge to reach for it, just the steady hum of tires on asphalt and the sound of a heart trying to unlearn something it had believed for too long. Questions filled the silence, not the kind that seek answers, the kind that just need to be spoken in the mind. Was it always like this? Did it change slowly? Or was it never real from the start? Was love supposed to feel this lonely? Every sign passed felt like another checkpoint in a journey away from something false and towards something unknown. Not freedom, not yet, but distance, breathing room, the chance to hear one's own thoughts again without being corrected or dismissed. When the driveway finally came into view, there was no relief, just stillness, the kind that settles in a place when no one's home, not because it's empty, but because the warmth has left. The front door stood quiet, paint slightly chipped at the edge. The house looked the same, but somehow it didn't. The keys hit the bowl with a soft clink. The floor creaked, same as it always did. The air smelled like lavender, the spray she liked, everything in its place, nothing out of order, except now it all felt like a set, a carefully arranged space where love once pretended to live, and now something inside finally stopped pretending. The house felt untouched, as if no one had lived in it all day. Everything was clean, organized, quiet. Not peaceful quiet, sterile quiet. On the kitchen counter sat her green glass water bottle, the one with cucumber slices floating inside. Next to it, a small stack of mail, unopened. Every item belonged to her world. Supplements, skincare samples, a hand-poured candle labeled Inner Strength. The fridge was covered with schedules, her gym days, her smoothie ingredients, color-coded meal plans. Not a single note or photo from his family. No sign of the person who had helped pay for that fridge. The hallway led past framed photos, every image chosen carefully. Her graduation, her birthday trip, her posing with friends. A wedding photo hung in the center, the only one with both of them in it. But even that felt staged, filtered. The smile on his face looked borrowed. The frame was gold. She had picked it. The office door was half open. Her laptop sat in its usual spot, charging. A package lay on her desk, already torn open. Some kind of essential oils kit. The receipt still tucked inside. She'd asked him earlier in the week to check for a refund confirmation. The screen was still on sleep mode, blinking gently. One tap of the mouse brought it back to life. The email tab was open. At first, just the usual. Shipping notices, brand newsletters, a calendar invite for Women's Wellness Reset. Then something strange caught the eye. A message pop up in the corner, half visible. A group chat. 4 names, all familiar, her friends. The window opened easily. Dozens of messages lined the thread, most of them casual. But the tone shifted quickly. Jokes, photos, screenshots. One showed a picture of him unloading groceries, captioned, "Rewarded the pup with almond milk today." The replies were instant. "He folds laundry for a pat on the head." "Domestication 101. Where do I get one?" Laughter emojis. Clapping hands. A gif of a dog doing tricks. There was more. A voice memo played automatically. Her voice low, amused. "Every time I ignore him for a day, he starts fixing stuff around the house like a wind-up toy. Watch, he'll clean the garage if I just sigh loudly enough." Another message followed. A screenshot of a sweet text he'd sent one evening. "Dinner's ready if you're hungry. Hope your day wasn't too hard." Her caption underneath. "Such a good boy. Might give him a smile later." The laughter in the replies was immediate. Scrolling slowed. Breathing did too. This wasn't teasing. It wasn't venting. This was entertainment, a performance. His life, his kindness, his efforts turned into punchlines. Again and again. Nothing said in private. Everything said in shared whispers, shared amusement. It didn't feel like betrayal. Betrayal implied a secret. This felt public, ongoing. A circle of laughter that never needed him to be in on the joke. It had been going on longer than he realized, and he had been the punchline the whole time. The coffee sat untouched on the table, growing colder by the minute. The house was still, but not in the way that invites calm. It was a stillness full of realization, heavy like thick air before a storm. No anger boiled, no desire to yell or confront, just the sharp, clean presence of truth. It sat there, uninvited, unignorable. One call was made, no explanation, no build-up. Just a quiet voice saying a name, Mike, and then silence on the other end as everything poured out. Not everything in perfect order, not a speech, just pieces, phrases, half-formed sentences held together by breath and disbelief. The voice on the other end didn't interrupt, didn't rush to make sense of it, just waited. And when the silence returned, Mike asked the only question that mattered. "What do you want to do about it?" No suggestions, no judgments, no advice packaged as comfort. Just a question that hung in the air long enough to feel like a door cracking open. The answer didn't come in words right away. It came in movement, in action. A pen, a notepad, one line at the top, "Things I control." Underneath, the first steps were written. Not revenge, not responses, just control reclaimed. Open new bank account, change passwords. Separate bills, move valuables, breathe. Each item brought a little more clarity, a little more air. The list wasn't long. It didn't need to be. Every item on it pointed in one direction, away, away from the shadow of someone else's world, away from playing support in a life where his voice was background noise. There was no rush, no shaking hands, just steady movement, quiet, certain. A drawer was opened, papers gathered, spare keys found. Little things once shared, now sorted. A storage unit was booked under his name, a clean space, a line drawn, not thrown out, just removed. A message sent to Mike. "Tomorrow I'll need a hand moving a few boxes." The next text was shorter. "My turn now." Later, the door was locked, not slammed, just closed with intention. The list sat on the counter, a small but solid thing. One item circled in pen, emotional space. There were no more questions, no more wondering what went wrong. That part had played out in full. The only thing left was the decision to stop allowing someone else to set the rules. That night, no TV played, no music filled the corners, just stillness again, but this time it didn't feel heavy. It felt like breathing after holding it too long. A whisper came, not out loud, but firm and final. I'm done being the quiet one. The inbox looked normal at first glance. Promotions, shipping updates, yoga class reminders. Scroll deeper, and a folder appeared labeled with two soft words, wellness projects. Inside, receipts from websites that didn't offer skincare or teas, but self-help courses, private coaching, virtual seminars. One stood out, reclaiming the relationship dynamic, shifting power without conflict. Attached was a workbook. On page 3, a highlighted quote, reward when behavior aligns with desired outcomes, withdraw affection otherwise. The next file opened was a journal entry, saved in a draft email, a list of triggers and corrections. Lines like, doesn't listen, what ignore for a day, or forgets chore, no affection until he apologizes. Bullet points turned intentions into a formula. Habits, not healing. Then came the calendar, a repeating event every other Thursday labeled RC meeting. At first, nothing suspicious, but those initials matched the name seen in one email thread, Russell Carmichael, her boss, the one described as harmless, too old, kind of boring. Yet the meetings had no attachments, no invitees, no shared notes, just her and the time blocked out. Private, consistent, messages followed, a string of conversations with someone saved as Heather M. But the tone didn't match the usual friendly back and forth. No real exchange, just one-sided logs. It was her, using a second email, messages written to herself, organizing thoughts, planning. One note stood out. Russ says things will move quickly once the paperwork's in. Just don't let him, referring to her husband, catch on yet. Another, RC booked Aspen, spa weekends my test run. After that, it's all logistics. Followed by, he still thinks we're just stressed. Poor guy. Scroll after scroll, evidence piled up, unshakable. Screenshots of hotel confirmations. One photo in a mirror, her face partially hidden by the phone, a man's hand on her waist. A room key in her grip, no captions, no shame. Another thread with a friend said, he's still doing the lawn. Can you believe that? Like watering the grass is going to keep me here. The file names weren't coded, they weren't hidden, everything had been out in the open, just under a thin layer of assumptions. Not a mistake, not a moment of weakness, a plan. The picture became clear, not of a woman who had fallen out of love, but one who had outgrown her interest and started preparing for the upgrade. Not quietly, not kindly, with precision. Every kind gesture turned over like a stone, showing what lived underneath. The praise, the soft smiles, the long silences, all part of a method, a system, not a relationship. None of it looked like someone trying to fix a marriage. It looked like someone preparing to exit one. Employee on the phone asked, need moving help? The answer came out steady. No, I'll handle it myself. Back at home, the process started. Quiet, careful, methodical. A suitcase opened, then another. Not rummaging, not tossing, just separation. One item at a time. Gym shoes, makeup trays, the drawer in the bathroom that had slowly pushed his shaving kit into a corner. All of it went in, folded, wrapped, labeled. No revenge, no damage, just space being made. Keys placed neatly on the kitchen table. Not thrown, not hidden, just there, visible. The front door lock changed by nightfall. It wasn't symbolic, it was necessary. One message sent, I've changed the locks. Your keys are inside, your things are safe, you'll get the address to the unit soon. No room for argument, no emotion, just facts. Two numbers dialed next. First, his mother. She listened, not with panic, but with quiet recognition. A long pause followed the explanation, then her only words. Took you long enough to see it. The second call went to Mike. He offered help. Help was declined. This was something that needed to be done alone. The next morning, a chair was pulled up to the kitchen counter. Laptop open, a blank email drafted, No subject line yet, just a list of names, people who had been close, her family, a few mutual friends, one co-worker who always looked uncomfortable at the holiday party when the jokes went too far. Each word was typed slowly. No insults, no dramatic claims, just truth. A few screenshots attached, a note that read, "For those who wondered, this is what the last few years looked like." At the bottom, one closing sentence. "She turned me into a story. Now I'll tell the truth myself." The cursor blinked. One deep breath. Then, send. The boxes went into the truck one by one. The back of the SUV, now cleared of laughter and perfume, carried the pieces of a life once shared. The storage unit opened easily, each box placed on shelves carefully spaced, neatly stacked. Nothing thrown away, nothing burned. Just put somewhere else. Out of reach, out of the way. The house wasn't empty, but it finally felt like it had room to breathe. The knock came hard, sharp, and fast, followed by a second, louder one, the kind that demanded attention, not patience. The handle jiggled, then silence. A pause, another knock, this one stretched into a fist, pounding. Her voice pierced through the door, angry and high. "Open the door. Are you serious right now?" No response, just footsteps behind the door, steady but unhurried. Her voice rose again, shaking with disbelief. "You changed the locks. You're acting crazy. This isn't funny, Grant." Still no movement. Then came a string of rapid knocks, a rhythm of frustration. "Let me in. We need to talk." The door opened, slow and calm. Her eyes darted around the doorway, waiting for an emotional explosion. None came. Just a calm face and quiet posture. She stepped forward, but the threshold wasn't crossed. He didn't move. Her voice softened instantly, switching tones. "Can we please just talk about this? I don't know what you think you saw or heard, but this is extreme." He stepped aside without a word. She walked in cautiously, noticing the change in the air. No candles burning, no music, just silence. And boxes, her things, packed and labeled. Her breath caught. "You went through my stuff?" The phone stayed silent most of the day, except for one call from Mike. A beer offer, a simple check-in. "You good?" A pause, then, "Better every day." No explanation needed. A box of old books resurfaced in the garage. Titles unread for years pushed aside in favor of minimalism and matching color schemes. Music returned too. Old playlists, scratched CDs, the kind of sound that filled the house without needing permission. A bench in the backyard was cleaned off. The grill uncovered. Tools lined up in the shed. Each one held for a few seconds, like an old friend not seen in a while. One day, the paint samples came out. The living room wall, once her perfect shade of gray, marked with soft patches of navy and deep green. Not final, just options. The inbox stayed full of noise. Her latest post floated across social media, something about betrayal, fake love, survival. The caption vague but sharp, the comments predictable. "Stay strong. Some people never grow up. You deserve better." None of it landed. The truth didn't need defense anymore. People came and went. Some offered apologies, others just faded into the background like mist burning off in the sun. No anger, just recognition. Not everyone was meant to stay once the mask came off. That evening, a warm drink in hand, the porch offered a breeze untouched by drama. No tension waiting to explode. No eggshells on the floor. No voice in the next room waiting to correct or command. Just air, just sky. Just the quiet rhythm of a life reclaiming itself, breath by breath. And the thought that settled in gently like dusk. I haven't felt this calm in years. The guest room was small, half filled with storage bins and a crooked lamp in the corner, but the mattress was soft enough, and the quiet was different here. No tension in the walls, no passive sighs, just space, real, breathable space. The blinds didn't close all the way, letting in sunlight early, warming the floor. The mornings felt lighter, not easier, just lighter. The first thing unpacked was a small speaker. Music played, not for anyone else, not in the background of someone else's mood. This time, for the sake of sound itself. Old songs returned, familiar lyrics once forgotten, now flooding the space with something close to joy. A slow rhythm began to return, the kind built on nothing but peace. Breakfast wasn't a performance anymore. No almond milk substitutions, no portioned smoothies in glass jars with cork lids, just toast and eggs, butter that didn't come with a lecture, a cup of real coffee, black and hot, steam rising as the sun hit the countertop. The first walk in the neighborhood was quiet. A path behind the house led to a small creek, half hidden by trees. No rush, no pace set by someone else. Just time, steps taken without expectation. The air smelled like wood and earth. No words spoken, no texts waiting for response. Only bird song and the faint buzz of distant traffic. A workbench came next, set up in Mike's garage. Old tools polished and lined up. Wood sanded, shaped. Something about the act of building brought back the feeling of ownership. Not of objects, of self. Hands remembered how to move with purpose. No one watching, no one judging, just pieces coming together under steady fingers. A woman at the community garden asked about tomato plants. She wore boots that looked too new to be real, but smiled without performance. Her name was Camille. They talked for 20 minutes about soil and fencing. No pressure, no flirting, just curiosity. She asked questions, not to fill silence, but to understand. The conversation ended with a wave, not an expectation. That was enough. A call came from a brother, long avoided. Laughter cracked through the phone line like it had never left. Memories surfaced, ones that didn't involve explanations or apologies, just connection, simple and clean. One afternoon, a drawer was opened and a photo was found. A younger version of a man standing by a half-finished deck. Sawdust on his shirt, smile wide, hands dirty. That version had gone quiet over the years, but not disappeared. He looked back now from the photo, not broken, just waiting. The court date approached, paperwork nearly done. Nothing dramatic, no grand speeches, just closure. The past didn't need to be rewritten, just released. The sun dipped low behind the house, casting long shadows across the floor. A chair faced the window. Music played softly again. She saw obedience, but what stood up from the floorboards was not a pet. It was the man who finally walked away from the leash.